So, George Clooney admitted today that he was lied to by the mainstream media and that he feels swindled into supporting Joe Biden's campaign as he was running for his second term in the presidency. And while that's really nice to hear once in a while, what would be even nicer is if these people looked at this situation where they can acknowledge that the media completely lied to them and then apply it to everything else that they took and still continue to take from these so called journalists and think to themselves, maybe that stuff is worth questioning as well. So, what did George Clooney have to say? Well, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. I appreciate you being here. Do me a couple of favors. Hit the subscribe button and help me to grow this channel. Hit the thumbs up button as well, and turn on your notifications so that you never miss out on a conversation like the one we're about to have. So you guys remember last summer, like 6 months ago, when George Clooney, Julia Roberts, and a bunch of wealthy millionaire elites from Hollywood gathered together at this massive fundraiser to try to get Joe Biden reelected, and how we were looking at this event and thinking, there is no way that they can possibly ignore the blatant cognitive impairment that Joe Biden has been displaying for years, and that there's no way they could promote this man as a serious candidate and still maintain any level of integrity. Despite seeing it with their own eyes, they still got up there and told us with their whole chest that this man was the way forward for America. Now, unlike most of these people, I can give George Clooney a little teeny bit of credit, because not long after that event, he did publicly call for Biden to step down. He was like, what I just saw this man today is just not okay. And I'm sure at that point the terror really did hit him hard, because it wasn't long before this fundraiser that he had found the idea of Trump beating Biden absolutely ridiculous.
It's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen because we're not going to be used. Fear is not going to be something that we're going to, that's going to be what drives our country. We're not going to be scared of Muslims or immigrants or, women. We're not actually afraid of anything. So, we're not going to use fear. So that's not going to be an issue. I think it is, if you're asking if it's a harbinger, I think that, and I think you would agree, and I think we all sort of see it. I think that's sort of landed in a way. Trump is actually a result in many ways of the fact that much of the news programs didn't follow up and ask tough questions. That's the truth. It was, it's really easy because your numbers go up. All these cable news numbers.
When have the mainstream media or the news numbers ever gone up?
So the more and more and more you hear, these guys, the ratings go up because they can show up empty podiums saying Donald Trump is about to speak, as opposed to taking those 30 seconds and saying, well, let's talk about refugees, which is the biggest crisis that's going on in the world right now. Would really all of the corporations fall on their knees if we did actually inform a little bit? So I think that this movie is pointing at and talking about one of the things I think that is a great disaster in the way we inform ourselves right now, which is we've lost the ability to get to and tell the truth and get to the facts.
No kidding. Just to address a couple of the things that George seems to believe there. First, this idea that they didn't ask Trump tough questions. All they've ever done is hammer down on Trump. But George, if you think that they're not asking Trump tough questions, it's because they knew it would be a disaster for anybody to ask those same things of Biden or even Kamala. It was all part of the cover-up. They knew that Trump could probably answer them, but if the tables turned and people expected the same thing from Biden, it would completely fall apart. But when he says that refugees are the biggest crisis going on in the world right now, it just shows where he gets his information from, which is the news organizations that he is currently pissed off at for lying to him about Biden. Biden, because the news is trying to get these people to focus on everybody else's problems, because they knew that if they focused on the disasters that were going on in our own backyard, it would put the eye on the very people that he and all of these elites, these disconnected people, were focusing on and trying to get us to vote for. But we can absolutely agree that the media has created a disaster in the way that we inform ourselves, and that we have lost the ability to get the facts, at least from them. And that's something that even George Clooney acknowledges in a piece that came out today. As George Clooney admits, media dropped the ball on covering Biden's incapacities. It says actor George Clooney conceded during a Thursday interview that the media failed in its coverage of former President Biden's fitness and ability to serve. Clooney told the New York Times' Maureen Dowd that Biden was irresponsible in covering up his incapacities, and added, the media in many ways dropped the ball. Reacting to a moment when former President Obama led Biden off the stage at a Los Angeles fundraiser in June, Clooney said, I saw him for hours a year earlier at the Kennedy Center, and I saw someone much less sharp. Dowd wrote that the experience left Clooney gobsmacked. And I think it's interesting that they point to that exact moment when President Obama was leading Biden off the stage by the small of his back, and the media insisted that it was just because they were friends. And KJP told us that this is just how friends act, that they have this friendship that goes back years, and that's what that was based on. So basically, he's admitting, at least in my opinion, that the reason he thought Joe Biden was fine is because he was watching the media and believing them when they were reporting that Joe was fine, that he was at the top of his game, and that any attacks against him were because of ageism and bigotry and hate from the right. They lied about someone that they knew their mental capacity was declining at a rapid rate, and even so much so that they swindled George to come and bring all of his wealthy friends to donate millions to put him back in the White House. And they did it. But George was so horrified by what he witnessed in that moment that it was too much for him to go forward and back this person. So in that moment, why would you not look at these people who put you in that position and think, if they are willing to abuse my trust in my name in this way and get me to believe something so outrageous just so they could use my influence for their political gain, what else could they be lying about with that same motivation? Have they changed? No. Have they decided to be more honest and transparent? No. So why would you ever trust these people again? Yet he's still putting his name behind these people, which means he hasn't learned anything, and he probably never will. This is why no one listens to you, George, or anybody else that attended that fundraiser, and why no one should ever trust you or give you any level of credibility again. These people truly just piss me off. And I know most of you saw that stupid skit at the SNL 50th anniversary where Tom Hanks tried to act like what their perception of a Trump supporter is.
Hey, now speaking of church, can I say something? If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No,
Oh, no.
like that.
Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome in Black Jam anytime.
Oh, well, all right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it What Jeopardy?
No. We don't need it. We don't need it.
Yeah, there's a reason that nobody thought that was funny. I mean, this whole slow Southern draw, uneducated, racist act, etc., whatever else you want to throw in there, it is so old. It's just not funny. And this persona is completely based on the false media narrative. And it's just funny that you guys continue to refuse to acknowledge or to accept or to recognize or to open your eyes to the fact that you are being used as a tool in the box of the very people that George Clooney just admitted lied to him. But you know what, Tom? Yes, people do need to spend more time in church, but we all have questions about where you've spent your time. And hopefully, with the recent confirmation of Kash Patel as FBI director, we'll get a little bit more clarity on that. After that, you might just need a little bit more God in your life. Now, obviously, I don't think there is any hope for any of these Hollywood lunatics, but hopefully these moments when they admit that they were taken for a ride will wake other people up who are far more intelligent than them, and we know that that bar isn't very high, but other people will hopefully have the awakening that George Clooney should be having right now, but is too narcissistic and disconnected from reality to entertain. The media is scamming you. They lied about Biden's decline. They lied about Kamala's polling numbers. They lied about Trump supporters being uneducated racists, and they're lying to you now about the work that Trump and his administration is doing. Anyway, I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. If you are new to my channel, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button. Again, I am trying to grow this channel, and I appreciate all of the support. Other than that, keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.